So let's start with gate. We're going to turn that on. What gate is going to do is it is going to set a threshold, and this threshold is going to tell us at what point sound is going to come in. Okay, so I'm going to explain this a little bit further. So let's turn up a little bit of that snare hit. So right now the threshold is really low. It's down here, and you can use these knobs that says threshold, ratio is set to gate. You can do different ratios, then range, and then we usually don't worry about the attack and envelope over here as much. That's more fine tuning. So the threshold is low. So let's say we want to not have any snare sound come through unless it goes above that threshold. So you can see here, this is the snare sound, and we've set the threshold so high that very little of the sound from the snare is actually loud enough to come through. So you can see the problem here if we're not checking these or if we've set it too high. This can be a really powerful tool, but it can also just mess the sound up pretty significantly. And so what we want to be able to do is know what we're going to use a gate for. The reason that we're going to use a gate on a snare drum in particular is that we want the snare to come through the microphone, but not maybe the cymbals. So there's a microphone on each instrument in the drum kit, each drum in the drum kit. There's a microphone on the cymbals, on the hi-hat, on the kick drum. We know this, we mix those. If we have the threshold all the way down here at the very bottom, then that's saying that even the tiniest sound will be above the threshold. So even the tiniest sound will come through. So that snare mic on a drum kit would be picking up everything all at once, and it wouldn't be limiting anything. So what we want to do on a snare, and this is just one of the cool things that we can do, and this is how we would use this on a drum kit, is we want to bring it up and we want to limit some of those splashier things that might be in the very background, might not come through, because the snare, anytime the drummer hits the snare drum hard, it will be above this threshold. Now what we need to be careful of is we would rather have a little bit of cymbal come through than miss the snare rolls or the softer touches on the snare drum during a softer song that the drummer's doing. So you really don't ever want to crank this. We'd rather have things bleed through than not come through at all. But gate can really help us clean up and isolate each portion of the snare. Another thing this is really good for is, you might have heard when we have electric guitar, sometimes there's a hum from the electric guitar just constantly. And it's only noticeable when the electric guitar player isn't playing, when nobody's playing and it's just silent in the room. Usually guitarists will mute their guitar when they're not playing, but if they leave it on, this gate can be really nice, because we can just go to the electric guitar and we can say, hey, anything lower in volume than the actual playing is going to get cut. So it could be like right around here on an electric guitar channel, and that would cut out that hum. Again, what we want to make sure is when the guitarist strums and lets it ring out, we want to make sure that we're not losing the tail end of that. We don't want it to like be ringing and really nice and really reverby, and then all of a sudden it's just gone because we had the gate up here on electric guitar. So that's the basics of gate. You can change the ratio, and what that sounds like is, let's turn the snare back up. So let's see if we can hear this. So you can see it's a little bit slower. It kind of ramps in and out. So a full gate, it just drops. From under that threshold, it just drops. So I don't know if that'll be perceptible to you in the video, but The ratio doesn't matter as much. We usually don't want to do full gate, just the full cut, just in case we're not doing it perfectly, which I've never really met anybody who personally who's perfected gate. So we usually want to have a little bit of a ratio here, and that will drop it out, but it won't be quite as harsh if we were over gating. Okay, so now we've got some gate going. There's really nothing in the background of this loop for us to worry about trying to cut out. So this is just kind of the basic idea. We're going to be able to see here with the next video on EQ just how powerful EQ can be and how much it can change the sound.